The message came at midnight, when the stars outside Admiral Kang Hyunwoo's window were brightest. He read it 3 times before he believed it. The Galactic Coalition had given humanity 90 days to leave. Every planet, every station, every small colony where human children played under alien suns, all of it, gone. Hyunwoo was 62 years old. He had spent 40 years building peace between humans and the 7 species of the Coalition. He had learned their languages, studied their customs, and taught his officers to respect their ways. Now, with one message, all of that meant nothing. He called his senior officers to the command room of the starship Eternal Dawn. Commander Lee Minho arrived first, his face hard with anger. Chief Scientist Park Soo-jin came next, carrying data files she had been preparing for weeks. She had known this was coming. Diplomat Yoon Naeun entered last, her recording device already active. She would document everything. They voted this morning, Hyunwoo said. 6 species in favor, 1 abstained. The Keleth refused to vote against us, but they did not vote for us either. Minho slammed his fist on the table. We helped them. When the Orvani faced the plague on their colony worlds, who sent medical ships? When the Keleth needed food during their drought, who shared supplies? Humans. Always humans. They fear us, Soo-jin said quietly. We advance too fast. 300 years ago, we could barely leave our own planet. Now we match their technology. In another 100 years, we will surpass them. So they punish us for being good at survival? Minho asked. They punish us for making them feel small. Naeun looked up from her device. The official reason is different. High Speaker Velen claims humanity is a contaminating presence. He says we spread too quickly and take too many resources. He calls us aggressive. Hyunwoo laughed. But there was no humor in it. Aggressive. We have never started a single war. Every conflict we fought was in defense. Truth does not matter to them, Naeun said. Fear does. The next morning, Soo-jin requested permission to address the Coalition Council one final time. Hyunwoo granted it, though he knew it would change nothing. He went with her, along with Naeun, who would record every word. The council chamber was vast. 7 species sat in their designated areas, their eyes watching the 3 humans walk to the central platform. High Speaker Velen stood above them all. He was tall and thin, with silver skin and eyes that showed no warmth. Behind him sat Commander Tessic, the military leader who would enforce the exile. Soo-jin activated her display. Images appeared in the air above her. Star maps. Energy readings. Ancient warnings. Honored Council, she began. I ask you to reconsider. Not for humanity's sake, but for your own. Velen made a sound of disgust. More manipulation. No. Science. Soo-jin pointed to a region of space near human territory. This area contains what we call the Hollow. It is a prison, built by a species that died 1,000,000 years before any of us existed. Inside that prison are entities that feed on stars and planets. They consume everything. Murmurs spread through the council. Tessic leaned forward with interest. Human colonies in that region were not random, Soo-jin continued. We placed them there deliberately. Our stations monitor the prison. Our technology keeps the seals strong. We are guardians. If we leave, no one will watch the Hollow. No one will maintain the seals. Velen raised one long hand. Enough. We have heard human lies before. You create false threats to make yourselves important. I have proof. Data from centuries of monitoring. Let me show you. The council has voted. Humanity will leave. This discussion is over. Soo-jin stood frozen. Hyunwoo stepped forward and took her arm gently. Come, he said. They do not want to hear. As they walked toward the exit, Naeun turned back. She faced the council and spoke clearly so her recorder would capture every word. My name is Yoon Naeun. I am a historian. I document truth. Today I document this. Humanity warned you. We told you what would happen. You chose not to listen. When the Hollow wakes and your worlds burn, remember this moment. Remember that you had a choice. The exile began 3 days later. Coalition warships arrived at human colonies with weapons ready. They gave families hours to pack their lives into small bags. Children cried, parents carried what little they could. The old and sick were loaded onto transport ships without care. Nayun traveled from colony to colony, recording everything. She saw Orvani soldiers laugh as they burned human homes. She saw a mother separated from her young son because there was no room on her ship. She saw an old man beaten for walking too slowly. Document it all, Hyunwoo had ordered. Every cruelty, every injustice. The galaxy will know what was done to us. Minho wanted to fight. His hands shook with rage as he watched the evacuations. "Give me one ship," he begged Hyunwoo. "One ship. And 50 soldiers. I will make them pay, and then they will have their excuse," Hyunwoo replied. "They will say humans are violent. They will hunt down every last one of us. No. We leave with our honor intact. We leave with proof of their crimes. And we leave with our warning echoing in their ears." The final evacuation took 60 days. 12 star systems emptied. Billions of humans crowded onto ships. Many died during the journey from disease and lack of supplies. Nayun counted them. She recorded their names. On the last day, Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the eternal dawn. Behind him, the last fleet waited. 3,000 ships, carrying what remained of humanity. Ahead lay the void between galaxies. Empty, dark, unknown. Sujin joined him at the window. "The monitoring stations are shutting down," she said. "Without power, they will fail within 10 years. After that, the seals will weaken. How long until the Hollow wakes? 40 years, maybe 50. Long enough that they will forget our warning." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. He activated the communication system and broadcast on all coalition frequencies. His voice reached every ship, every station, every planet in coalition space. "This is Admiral Kang Hyunwoo of the Human Last Fleet. We are leaving, as you demanded. But hear this. We kept watch so you could sleep. We guarded the dark so you could live in light. When the Hollow wakes, and it will wake, do not call for us. You chose this. Live with it." He ended the transmission and turned to his navigator. "Take us out. Beyond the rim. Into the void." The last fleet moved forward. Stars faded behind them. Coalition space grew small, then disappeared entirely. They sailed into darkness, leaving behind everything they had built. Behind them, the coalition celebrated. High Speaker Velen declared a day of thanksgiving. Commander Tessic received medals for his successful operation. The Orvani sang songs of victory, and in the empty space where human colonies once stood, the Hollow waited, patient, hungry, beginning to stir. Nayun made her final entry for part 1 of her record. "They forced us to leave. We warned them. Now we wait. And so does something else. The void embraced humanity. It would be their home now. Their prison. And perhaps, one day, their fortress." 50 years passed in the darkness between galaxies. Humanity did not die. Humanity built. New Sol Station hung in the empty void like a bright jewel against infinite black. It was massive, 20 kilometers across, home to 3 million people who had never seen coalition space. Around it orbited smaller stations, factories, and shipyards. Further out, 3 planets circled a captured star. Humanity had found a way to move a star. The coalition had never imagined such a thing was possible. Admiral Kang Hyunwoo was old now. 112 years. Medicine kept him alive, but his body was tired. He spent most days in his office, reading reports and watching the void. Sometimes he wondered if the coalition even remembered humans existed. They had probably erased humanity from their histories, pretended the exile never happened. Commander Lee Minho had aged too, but his fire had not dimmed. He ran the military academy now. training young pilots and soldiers, not for revenge. Not yet, but Minho believed the day would come when the coalition would need humanity. He wanted his people ready. One of his best students was Choi Do-yoon, 23 years old, born on New Seoul Station. He had never breathed natural air or felt real sunlight. The void was all he knew. But he flew like he was born for it, dancing between asteroids and through debris fields with impossible grace. "Why do we train so hard?" Do-yoon asked Minho one day after a brutal exercise. "We have no enemies here. Nothing lives in the void." Minho looked at him with eyes that had seen too much. "We train because one day, we will return to coalition space. Not to conquer, to save. And when that day comes, we must be ready. Save them? After what they did to us? Because of what they did to us. They showed us the worst of themselves. We will show them the best of ourselves. That is how humans win." Do-yoon did not understand. He was too young, but he kept training. In her laboratory, Park Soo-jin worked day and night. She was 98 now, but her mind was sharp as ever. For 50 years, she had studied the hollow. She had developed theories, built models, and created technology that could manipulate void energy itself. "The ancient species that built the prison used a frequency," she explained to her team. "A specific vibration of void energy that forces the entities back into dormancy. If we can recreate that frequency, we can seal the hollow again." Her assistant, a young woman named Baek Yuri, frowned. "But why would we? The coalition threw us away. Let them face the consequences." Soo-jin turned to look out her window at the distant lights of New Seoul. "Because if the hollow consumes coalition space, it will not stop there. It will spread. Eventually, it will reach us. We do this for ourselves as much as for them. And also because we are human," Yuri said quietly. She was beginning to understand. Yes, also that. Diplomat Yoon Na-yoon was 105. She had spent 50 years organizing her records, every testimony, every image, every name of every person who died during the exile. She had created an archive that filled entire storage systems. The truth of what happened would never be forgotten. She still received transmissions from coalition space. Her equipment was better than anything the coalition had. She listened to their communications, tracked their politics, watched their society from afar. Recently, the transmissions had changed. There was fear in the voices now. Reports of colonies going silent. Ships that never returned. Strange energy readings from the region of space humanity once called home. She brought her findings to Hyun-woo. The old admiral sat in his chair, looking at the data with tired eyes. "The monitoring stations are dead," Soo-jin confirmed. She had joined them. "The seals failed 8 years ago. The hollow is stirring." "How long until full awakening?" Hyun-woo asked. "Hard to say. The entities are testing the boundaries. Small incursions first. They are learning, remembering. Maybe 5 years, maybe less." Na-yoon played a recording. It was a coalition military communication. A ship captain reported seeing something impossible. A shadow that moved between stars. A darkness that ate light itself. Then the transmission ended in screaming. "They do not know what they face," Na-yoon said. "They have no records of the hollow. They destroyed all the human research when they exiled us." Hyun-woo closed his eyes. He remembered the council chamber. He remembered Soo-jin trying to warn them. He remembered Velen's dismissive wave. "More manipulation," the high speaker had said. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Minho asked. He had arrived during the meeting. His hand rested on the weapon at his side, though there was no enemy to fight. Hyun-woo was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "We do nothing. Nothing? We wait. We watch. We prepare. But we do not intervene. They made their choice 50 years ago. They must live with it." Minho nodded slowly. Part of him was satisfied. Let the coalition suffer. Let them know what it felt like to lose everything. But another part of him, the part that Do-yoon was too young to understand, felt sick. Billions would die. Children. Innocent people who had nothing to do with the exile. Could humanity really stand by and watch? Nayun continued monitoring coalition space. The reports grew worse each month. More colonies silent. More ships vanished. The Orvani government tried to hide the truth from their citizens, but panic was spreading. High Speaker Velen was still alive, ancient and stubborn. He blamed the attacks on unknown enemies. Pirates, rival species, anything except the truth. Commander Tessic, now a decorated general, led expedition after expedition into the dark regions. None returned. The Keleth elder named Morai sent secret messages into the void. She did not know if anyone was listening. "If humans can hear this," she said, "please forgive us. We were wrong. We were afraid. Help us." Her messages went unanswered. On New Seoul Station, Do-yoon finished his training and received his first command, a small patrol ship, nothing important. He flew circuits around the station, watching for threats that never came. One night, his communication system picked up something strange, a distant signal, faint, desperate. A voice speaking in Orvani, crying for help as something tore their ship apart. Do-yoon listened until the signal died. Then he sat in silence for a long time. When he returned to base, he found Minho waiting for him. The old commander saw something in the young pilot's eyes. "You heard them," Minho said. "Yes. How did it feel?" Do-yoon thought carefully before answering. "Wrong. It felt wrong. They are dying, and we do nothing." Minho put a hand on his shoulder. "Hold on to that feeling. It is what separates us from them. They watched us suffer and felt nothing. We watch them suffer, and it tears us apart. That is humanity. That is why, when the time comes, we will go back." When will that time come? When they ask. Truly ask. Not demand. Not command. Ask. Do-yoon looked back at the void. Somewhere out there, stars were dying. Worlds were burning. And humanity waited in the darkness. Ready but unmoving. Sujin completed her first prototype seal device. It worked in simulations. It could work in reality. But deploying it would mean returning to coalition space, flying through territory swarming with hollow entities. A suicide mission. She stored the device carefully and continued her work. There would be more devices. Better devices. When the time came, they would be ready. Nayun made her entry for part 2 of her record. 50 years in exile. We built a new home in the void. We grew strong. And we listened as the coalition began to die. They still have not called for us. They still believe they can win alone. They are wrong. But we will not tell them that. They must learn it themselves. The darkness grew deeper. The screaming grew louder. And humanity, patient and watchful, waited for the galaxy to remember what they had lost. The Keleth homeworld had 3 suns. For 10,000 years, those suns had risen and set in perfect harmony. Children grew up learning the patterns of triple shadows. Poets wrote songs about the 3 lights that protected them. Elder Morai stood on her balcony and watched as the first sun went dark. It did not explode. It did not fade. One moment it was there, bright and warm. The next moment, something covered it. Something vast. Something that moved. Screaming began in the streets below. Morai did not scream. She was too old for screaming. Instead, she remembered a human woman standing before the Coalition Council, pointing at star maps, begging them to listen. "The entities consume everything," the woman had said. Her name was Park Sujin. Morai remembered now. They feed on stars and planets. Velen had called it manipulation. Tessic had laughed. Morai had said nothing. She had been afraid to speak against the coalition. She had been a coward. Now her world was dying because of that cowardice. The second sun went dark. The thing in the sky was becoming visible. Not a shape, exactly. More like an absence. A hole in reality where nothing existed. It had no eyes, but Morai felt it looking at her. Looking at everything. Hungry, she activated her communication device and sent one final message into the void. "We were wrong. Forgive us, please." Then the third sun went dark, and the Keleth homeworld knew only darkness. In Coalition military headquarters, General Tessick watched the reports flood in. The Keleth system was gone. All 4 planets. All 3 suns. 8 billion lives. Erased in less than a day. His hands shook as he read the numbers. He was not a young officer anymore. 60 years of service had taught him to face any enemy with courage. But this was not an enemy. This was a force of nature. A disaster on a scale no one had imagined. "General, what are your orders?" his aide asked. Tessick stared at the screen. What orders could he give? What weapons could fight something that 8 stars? "Gather the fleet," he said finally. "Every ship we have. We will meet this threat head-on." His aide hesitated. "Sir, the Keleth fleet tried to fight. They had 2,000 ships. None survived." "Sir, then we will bring more. We will bring everything." The Coalition assembled the largest fleet in galactic history, 12,000 warships from 6 species. Tessick commanded them personally from his flagship, the Pride of Orvan. He had conquered worlds with this fleet. He had crushed rebellions and silenced enemies. Surely it would be enough. It was not enough. The battle lasted 6 hours. Tessick watched from his command chair as ship after ship was destroyed. Their weapons fired and hit nothing. Energy beams passed through the hollow entities, like light through water. Missiles exploded harmlessly. The things from the void simply moved through the fleet, touching ships and unmaking seek them. Not destroying. Unmaking. As if they had never existed, the Pride of Orvan was hit last. Tessick felt reality twist around him. He saw his crew disappear, pulled into somewhere else, somewhere that was not space. He screamed and stumbled into an escape pod, launching himself away from his dying ship. He drifted alone for 3 days before a patrol found him. He was the only survivor. 12,000 ships. Millions of soldiers. Gone. High Speaker Velen called an emergency session of the council. But the council chamber was nearly empty. 2 species had already fled Coalition space entirely. The Keleth representative seat was vacant. Their entire species had been reduced to scattered refugees. Velen stood before the remaining members, his silver skin pale with terror. "We must consolidate our defenses. Pull all ships back to the core systems. Create a defensive line." "Against what?" someone shouted. "Our weapons do nothing. Our shields mean nothing. What do we defend with?" Velen had no answer. In the void between galaxies, Choi Do-yun picked up distress signals. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Voices crying for help in languages he did not speak. Ships fleeing destruction that followed them no matter how fast they ran. He brought the recordings to Commander Minho. The old soldier listened in silence. His face showed nothing. But Do-yun saw his hands grip the table until his knuckles turned white. "How many?" Minho asked. "Impossible to count. Billions, maybe. More dying every hour." Minho closed his eyes. "Bring me Admiral Hyunwoo." The Admiral came slowly. He needed help walking now. But his mind was clear. And his voice was steady. He listened to the recordings. He studied the reports Yoon Naeun had compiled. He watched footage of the hollow entities consuming stars. "They are worse than I imagined," he said quietly. Park Soo-jin was there too. She had brought her seal devices. 10 of them now, each one capable of generating the void energy frequency that could force the entities back into dormancy. "I can stop them," she said. "But the devices must be deployed at the original seal point, deep in what used to be human territory, the heart of the infestation." "How many ships would we need?" Minho asked. "Enough to create a corridor through the entities. Enough to protect a single ship until it reaches the deployment zone." She paused. Most would not survive. Hyunwoo looked around the room. He saw Minho, loyal and fierce. He saw Soo-jin, brilliant and determined. He saw Naeun, watching everything with her recording device. He saw Do-yun, young and confused and hurting. "The Coalition has not asked for our help," Hyunwoo said. They are too proud, Naeun replied. They would rather die than admit they were wrong. Then perhaps that is what they deserve. Silence filled the room. Do-yoon felt sick. He thought of the voices in the distress signals. The fear. The desperation. Children crying for parents. Parents crying for children. Sir, he said, surprising himself by speaking. Permission to speak freely. Hyunwoo raised an eyebrow. Granted. I was born in exile. I never knew the old colonies. I never experienced what the coalition did to us. All I know is what I was taught. Do-yoon took a deep breath. I was taught that humans protect others, that we do not become monsters just because monsters hurt us. If we watch billions die and do nothing, how are we different from them? Minho smiled slightly. The boy finally understood. Hyunwoo studied Do-yoon for a long moment. Then he turned to Sujin. How certain are you that the devices will work? 90%, maybe higher. And the cost? Thousands of lives. Perhaps more. Hyunwoo walked slowly to the window. Outside, New Seoul Station glittered with lights. 3 million people who trusted him. Beyond the station, the captured star burned steadily, humanity's triumph over the void. We did not ask to be guardians, he said. The universe gave us that role, whether we wanted it or not. The coalition tried to take it from us. They failed. He turned back to face his officers. We are not going back for them. We are going back because it is who we are. Prepare the fleet. Naeun made her entry for part 3 of her record. The hollow woke. The coalition burned. Billions died while pride prevented them from asking for help. And in the void between galaxies, humanity prepared to do what it had always done, save those who did not deserve saving. Because we are human. And that is what humans do. The last fleet began mobilizing. Soldiers said goodbye to families. Pilots checked their ships one final time. And in her laboratory, Sujin loaded the seal devices onto a single fast ship. The ship's pilot would be Choi Do-yoon. He had volunteered. No one else was fast enough. You understand you might not survive, Minho told him. Do-yoon nodded. I understand. Why are you doing this? They never did anything for you. They never even knew you existed. Do-yoon thought of the voices. The screaming. The crying. Because someone has to. And I can. Alling sevened. Minho embraced him. It was the first time he had ever hugged a student. Make us proud, pilot. I will, Commander. The stars waited. The hollow hungered. And humanity moved toward the light, ready to burn. The escape pod drifted through the void for 17 days. Inside, General Tessick survived on emergency rations and recycled water. He had no destination. He had nowhere to go. Coalition space was dying. Every system he could reach was either gone or soon would be, so he aimed for the impossible. The void between galaxies. The place where humans had fled 50 years ago. He did not know if they were still there. He did not know if they would help, but he had no other choice. His pod sensors were weak, but they detected something on day 12. Energy signatures, artificial structures, life. On day 17, a human patrol ship found him. The pilot was young, with curious eyes and a steady voice. Unidentified vessel. This is New Seoul Defense Force. Identify yourself. Tessick activated his communication system. His throat was dry. His voice cracked. This is General Tessick of the Orvani Coalition. I request. I beg. Asylum and audience with human leadership. Silence. Then, hold your position. Do not move. A boarding team will arrive shortly. They brought him to New Seoul Station in restraints. He did not resist. Human soldiers looked at him with cold eyes. Some were old enough to remember the exile. They remembered what Tessick had done, what his soldiers had done. He was taken to a detention cell and left alone for 2 days. Food and water appeared through a slot in the door. No one spoke to him. He waited and thought about all the orders he had given. The colonies he had burned. The families he had separated. The old man his soldiers had beaten for walking too slowly. On the third day, the door opened. Admiral Kang Hyunwoo entered, supported by a young officer. Behind him came Commander Minho and diplomat Naeun. Tessik stood. His body moved before his mind could stop it. He dropped to his knees. In 10,000 years of Orvani history, no commander had ever knelt before another species. But Tessik knelt now. He pressed his forehead to the cold floor. "Please," he whispered. "Please help us." Hyunwoo said nothing for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Stand up. I do not need you on your knees. I need you to talk." Tessik rose slowly. His legs shook. "The Hollow. The entities. They have destroyed everything. The Keleth are nearly extinct. The Orvani homeworld is threatened. 4 species have fled into unknown space. We tried to fight, 12,000 ships. I was the only survivor." "We know," Naeun said. "We have been watching." Tessik looked at her. Recognition flickered in his eyes. "You were there. At the council. When the human scientist tried to warn us." Park Soo-jin. "Yes, I recorded everything that day. I have recorded everything since." Tessik turned to Hyunwoo. "We did not believe her. We did not believe any of you. We thought you were lying to keep your territory. We thought—" He stopped. What they had thought no longer mattered. "You thought we were dangerous," Hyunwoo said. "You thought we were the threat. So you sent us away and destroyed the only protection you had." "Yes." Minho stepped forward. His hand rested on his weapon. "Do you know what your soldiers did during the evacuation? Do you know how many of our people died? Children separated from parents. Sick people left to die on transports. Old men beaten in the streets." Tessik closed his eyes. "I gave those orders. I thought I was protecting my people. I thought humans were the enemy." He opened his eyes and met Minho's gaze. "I was wrong. I was a fool, and now my people are dying because of my foolishness." "You expect us to feel sorry for you?" Minho asked. "No. I expect nothing. I deserve nothing. But I am not asking for myself. I am asking for the billions of innocent people who had nothing to do with the exile. Children who were not born when you left. Elders who spoke against the decision and were ignored. They do not deserve to die because of our arrogance." Hyunwoo turned to Naeun. "Show him." Naeun activated her device. Recordings played in the air. Human colonists being forced from their homes. A mother screaming as her son was taken away. An old woman dying on a transport floor while Orvani soldiers laughed. Homes burning, bodies floating in space. Tessik watched every second. Tears ran down his silver face. He did not wipe them away. "This is what you did to us," Hyunwoo said. "This is what your coalition celebrated." "I know. I remember. I was there." Tessik's voice broke. "If you want revenge, take it. Kill me. Destroy what remains of my people. We have earned it. But if there is any mercy in human hearts, any compassion that survived what we did to you, please, help us." The room was silent. Hyunwoo studied Tessik's face. He saw genuine despair. Genuine regret. Not the kind that comes from being caught, but the kind that comes from truly understanding the weight of one's sins. "Leave us," Hyunwoo said to his officers. "I will speak with him alone." Minho hesitated. "Admiral, go." They left. Hyunwoo lowered himself into a chair across from Tessik. The 2 old soldiers looked at each other. One who had given the orders. One who had suffered them. 50 years ago, Hyunwoo said. "I made a promise. When we left Coalition space, I said that when the Hollow woke, you should not call for us. Do you remember?" "I remember. I meant it then. Part of me still means it now." Hyunwoo leaned forward. "But I have learned something in 50 years of exile. Revenge is a small thing. It fills you for a moment, and then leaves you empty. We could watch your people die and feel satisfied. But then we would have to live with ourselves. We would have to explain to our children why we became the monsters you feared. Tessic looked up. Hope flickered in his eyes. Then you will help? I did not say that. Hyunwoo stood slowly. Tomorrow, I will call a council of humanity's leaders. You will speak to them. You will answer their questions. And they will decide. Not me. This choice belongs to all of us. The next day, Tessic stood before the Human Council. There were 20 representatives from all the colonies and stations. Young and old. Some who remembered the exile. Some who only knew stories. He told them everything. The arrogance of the coalition. The fear of humanity. The decision to exile. The destruction of human research. The awakening of the hollow. The death of billions. He held nothing back. He made no excuses. When he finished, Yoon Naeun spoke. This being helped orchestrate the greatest crime against humanity in our history. He supervised the destruction of our homes. His soldiers killed our people. Tessic nodded. All true. And now you want us to save his people? No, Choi Do-yoon said. Everyone turned to look at the young pilot. He is asking us to save innocent people. The crime was committed by leaders, not by the children who are dying right now. An old woman stood. She had been a child during the exile. She still remembered her father being beaten. Why should we risk our lives? Let them face the consequences of their actions. Because consequences do not care about innocence, Do-yoon replied. The Hollow does not ask who supported the exile and who opposed it. It simply consumes. If we have the power to stop it, and we choose not to, every death becomes our responsibility too. Debate continued for hours. Voices rose in anger. Old wounds opened. Some demanded justice. Some preached mercy. Some said humanity should save itself and let the galaxy burn. Finally, Hyunwoo called for silence. He looked at each face in the room. We have a choice, he said. We can be what they thought we were. Dangerous. Selfish. Willing to watch others suffer. Or we can be what we always claimed to be. Guardians. Protectors. The ones who hold back the dark. He paused. I know what I choose. But this decision must be unanimous. We all go, or none of us go. One by one, hands rose. The old woman who remembered her father raised hers last. Tears streamed down her face, but her hand did not waver. Then it is decided, Hyunwoo said. We return. Naeun made her entry for part 4 of her record. They came begging. They knelt before us. They showed us their despair. And we, who had every right to turn away, chose to go back. Not for them, for ourselves. Because being human means holding on to compassion, even when the universe gives you every reason to let it go. The last fleet prepared to move. Tessic would guide them. Sujin would deploy the SEALs. Do-yoon would fly the mission. And humanity, exiled and forgotten, would save the galaxy that had thrown them away. The last fleet emerged from the void like ghosts returning from death. 3,000 ships, gleaming with technology the coalition had never seen. At their head flew the Eternal Dawn, Admiral Hyunwoo commanding from the same chair he had occupied 50 years ago. Ahead of them, coalition space burned. Stars flickered and died. Worlds vanished into darkness. The hollow entities drifted through the black like living shadows, consuming everything they touched. All ships. This is Admiral Hyunwoo. Remember our purpose. We are not here to fight. We are here to clear a path. Stay in formation. Trust your training. And know that whatever happens today, we prove who we truly are. Commander Minho coordinated from the battlecruiser Iron Will. His screens showed the entire battlefield. Thousands of hollow entities blocked the path to the seal point. Beyond them, the coalition remnant fleet waited. Tessic had convinced them to join the fight. One last stand. Human fleet, this is Tessic. We will follow your lead. Tell us where to go. Minho smiled grimly. An Orvani general taking orders from humans. History had a strange sense of humor. Formation Delta 7, Minho ordered. Create a corridor. Do not engage the entities directly. Use the void stabilizers to push them back. Give our lead ship a clear path. The stabilizers were Sujin's invention. They projected fields of normal space into the void-twisted regions where the hollow existed. The entities could not survive in stable reality. They recoiled from it like flames from water. The fleet moved. Human and coalition ships flew side by side, their stabilizers creating a tunnel of normal space through the chaos. Entities screamed and retreated. Some did not retreat fast enough. They touched the stabilized space and dissolved. Their existence incompatible with ordered reality, but there were so many. For every entity pushed back, 2 more appeared. The tunnel began to close. "We are losing ground," Tessic reported. "The corridor is narrowing." "Push harder," Minho ordered. "Give Do-yoon room." At the center of the formation, Choi Do-yoon flew the fastest ship in the fleet. The Swift Wing, built specifically for this mission. In his cargo hold sat Sujin and her seal devices. Their lives depended on his skill. "How are we doing back there?" he asked. "Focused on my work," Sujin replied. "You focus on flying." Do-yoon smiled despite his fear. The old woman had not changed in 50 years. The corridor narrowed further. Ships began taking damage. A human destroyer was caught by an entity and unmade in seconds. A coalition cruiser followed moments later. Minho watched the casualty count rise. "We need more power to the stabilizers," he said. "Sir, if we divert more power, our weapons will go offline." "Then divert it. We are not here to shoot." The stabilizers strengthened. The corridor widened slightly. Do-yoon pushed his engines harder. The seal point was close now. He could see it on his sensors. The heart of the hollow. The place where the ancient prison had been built. 2 minutes to deployment zone, he announced. "You have 90 seconds of corridor," Minho replied. "After that, we cannot hold them." 90 seconds. Do-yoon flew like he had never flown before. His ship twisted through debris and chaos. Entities reached for him with tendrils of darkness. He evaded them by centimeters. 80 seconds. Behind him, the fleet was failing. Ships fell one after another. Human and coalition crews died together. Their last acts spent buying time for a pilot they would never meet. 60 seconds. Elder Morai watched from a refugee vessel at the edge of the battle. She had survived the destruction of her world. She had fled with a handful of her people. Now she watched humans die to save what remained of the galaxy. She began recording her own testimony. A Keleth account of this day. Future generations would know what humanity sacrificed. 40 seconds. Do-yoon reached the deployment zone. He slowed his ship and turned to Sujin. "We are here." The old scientist was already moving. She activated the seal devices one by one, feeding them power from the ship's core. The void energy began building to critical frequency. "It is working," she said. "The frequency is matching." 10 seconds to full activation. 20 seconds of corridor left. The hollow felt what was happening. Every entity in the region turned toward the Swift Wing. They converged like a tide of darkness. "Do-yoon, get out of there," Minho shouted. "Not yet. She needs more time." 15 seconds. The entities closed in. The corridor collapsed entirely. Do-yoon was alone in a sea of shadows. "Activation complete," Sujin said. "The seal is engaging." The void energy pulse exploded outward. It was not light. It was not sound. It was something that existed beyond human senses. The entities screamed. Nayoon heard it from the eternal dawn. It was the sound of ancient hunger being denied, the sound of something vast being forced back into sleep. The hollow collapsed inward. Entities dissolved and faded. The darkness retreated. Stars that had been dimmed began to brighten again. The prison was sealing, but the Swift Wing was caught in the collapse. The void energy pulse tore through the ship. Systems failed. The hull cracked. "Do-yoon!" Minho screamed. Sujin's voice came over the communication system one last time. She was laughing. Old and tired and triumphant. 50 years of research. I told them it would work. Then the signal died. Do-yoon felt his ship breaking apart around him. He thought of New Seoul Station. He thought of the void that had been his home. He thought of the voices in the distress signals, the billions he would never meet but had helped save. "Commander," he said, not knowing if anyone could hear. "Tell them we did it. Tell them." The swift wing exploded. Silence spread across the battlefield. Human and coalition crews stared at their screens. The hollow was gone. The entities had been sealed. The galaxy was saved. And the ship that had saved it was dust. Minho sat in his chair and wept. He did not try to hide it. Around him, his crew wept too. On the eternal dawn, Hyunwoo closed his eyes. Another name for the memorial. Another hero who would never grow old. But the battle was won. 1 year later, New Sol Station looked different. Coalition species walked its corridors alongside humans. Orvani children played with human children in the gardens. Keleth elders shared meals with human families. The void between galaxies was no longer empty. It was becoming a bridge. Admiral Hyunwoo stood before the memorial wall. Thousands of names were carved into the black stone. Park Soo-jin, Choi Do-yoon, all the crews who had died creating the corridor. He touched Do-yoon's name gently. Yoon Na-yoon joined him. She was very old now. Her recording device still hung at her side. It always would. "Was it worth it?" she asked. They never truly apologized. Velen is still High Speaker. He still claims the coalition made reasonable decisions. Quote, Hyunwoo watched through the window. In the garden below, a human boy was teaching an Orvani girl how to play a game with sticks. They were laughing. They did not need to apologize, he said. We did not save them for their sake. We saved them for ours. Because we are human. And humans do not abandon people to the dark. Even when those people abandoned us. Minho trained new pilots now. His academy had expanded. Human instructors taught alongside Keleth veterans and Orvani officers. They flew together. They learned together. They became something new. On the anniversary of the battle, a ceremony was held. Tessic attended. He stood before the memorial and read every name. He had memorized them all. I cannot undo what I did, he said to Minho afterward. I cannot bring back the people my orders killed. But I can spend whatever years I have left, making sure this never happens again. How? Minho asked. By teaching, by remembering, by making sure the young ones know what arrogance costs and what compassion gives. Elder Mirai had compiled her testimony into a book. It was translated into every language in the galaxy. The Keleth account, they called it. An alien witness to human sacrifice. The final chapter read, We drove them away. We burned their homes and scattered their families. When darkness came, we expected them to watch us die. Instead, they came back. They flew into the heart of destruction and gave their lives so we could live. I do not understand humans. I do not think I ever will, but I know this. The galaxy is better because they exist. And I am ashamed that my people ever tried to destroy them. Nayoon made her final entry in the record she had kept for 60 years. They forced us to leave. We warned them. They faced the consequences. And when they had nothing left, we came back anyway. Not because they deserved it, because we refused to become what they feared we were. This is humanity's answer to the galaxy. We are not the monsters you imagined. We are the ones who save monsters from themselves. Choi Do-yoon was 23 when he died. He never saw Earth. He never breathed natural air. He only knew the void. But in his last moments, he proved what humanity has always known. It is not where you are born that makes you human. It is what you choose to do when the darkness comes. We chose to be the light. We always will. The stars burned steady. The hollow slept. And humanity, once exiled and forgotten, stood guard over a galaxy that had finally learned to be grateful. The void was vast. The darkness was endless. But wherever humans went, they carried light with them. Not in their ships, not in their weapons, in their hearts, and that was something no exile could ever take away.